For many students who are studying cars and finding that they're having a lot of difficulty thinking about cars in a different light than the other sections, you may have heard us at MCAT Savior say that cars is a sport. And that might sound weird to you, but here's how that all links up. In sections 1, 3, and 4, so Chem Phys, Bio, and Psych Soc, these sections are an application of your content-based knowledge. Cars, on the other hand, doesn't incorporate any outside knowledge. It's not like you had to memorize the entire Krebs cycle for cars. The information you need to answer every cars question is actually located in each passage. So the focus then shifts from an application of content now to an application of skills. Although this might seem like a very small distinction, and many students might not feel like it's an important one to make, we believe that it is super important because how you view each section determines how you study and prepare for it. So while memorizing the entire Krebs cycle and all of biochem might be appropriate for Chem Phys and Bio, cars doesn't work that way, and we need to train it in a way that best fits. Sports use skills. Every time you play a sport, your general skills are going to transfer from one match to the other. And the way you get better at the sport is by improving your skills. Unfortunately, a lot of the teaching material that's on the market for cars doesn't address this fact because in Chem Phys, Bio, and Psych Soc, since you already have good content knowledge, simply doing a ridiculous amount of passage-based practice can actually improve your scores quite a bit. And you don't necessarily need to learn the skills from the bottom up because your skills in those sections primarily relate to how you take the content and utilize it in a question-based format. Whereas cars takes your passage understanding and then wants you to apply it in a question-based format. So it's very different. And the issue is many teaching companies employ a top-down learning approach for cars. What does that mean? Basically, it means that you're starting at the highest level. So let's say doing full sections of cars, and by continuing to do more and more practice passages, more and more sections, they expect your skills will trickle down. You're starting from essentially the end and then assuming that it's going to work. And while this high volume based practice approach works really well for sections 1, 3, and 4, it tends not to work really well for most students in cars because of the skills-based nature of the section itself. Instead, a much better way to learn cars is the bottom-up approach. In the bottom-up approach, you start from the opposite direction. You start learning about how passages are built, then you start learning about questions, and then you start piecing them together for practice passages, and then eventually sections. Now here at MCAT Savior, we go even one step further, and in all of these different phases, we like to break it down to the nitty-gritty details of everything in terms of how AAMC fundamentally builds their car section. So how are their passages written? What components do they put in them? How are the questions built? What is the general design philosophy that AAMC uses to create these questions? And by teaching the material in that way, for most average students, you're going to build up a very good foundational knowledge of what the car section is, and that's going to help you increase and keep your growth rate moving along as you progress through your cars training. So this is probably a lot to take in at one time, but if you want to learn more about the learning theory behind the MCAT Savior Cars course, you can always get our Module 0, which is just a full module that explains our learning theory and why we do things the way we do, completely for free. So we hope this information helps, and remember, changing the way that you think about the cars section can actually have a really big impact on the skills that you gain and your long-term score results. So we hope this helps. All right, that was a complicated lesson. If you still need help, check out our full-length blog post that we linked in the video description, explore more of our YouTube channel, or just head on over to mcatsavior.com where you can get all of our strategy courses for free.